Hi, welcome to the Sociological Lens. I am Dr. Dilsora Fozilova. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about a concept that has both ancient root and modern implications, the fear of the unknown. This topic sits right at the intersections of sociology, psychology, and even philosophy as it explores how we respond to things we cannot fully understand, predict, or control. When we think of fear, it is often tied to something tangible, something that can be identified and confronted. However, fear of the unknown is different. It is more abstract, pervasive anxiety that stems from the uncertainty itself rather than any specific danger. Why do we fear things we cannot or haven't seen, experienced, or can't predict? And what it is about the unknown that evokes such a strong reaction in us. In today's lecture, we'll start by unpacking the concept of the unknown and defining why it has been a central fear across societies. We'll discuss Hobbes and his idea of Leviathan, where fear of the unknown, the chaos and predictability of life without order, led to the creation of societal structures and governance. Hobbes argued that people relinquished certain freedoms to a sovereign power out of desire for stability and security. This idea suggests that our fear, our fear of the unknown, can drive us towards control, order, and even obedience. From there, we will look at more contemporary examples, the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, the world faced a level of uncertainty and unprecedented in recent history where fear was amplified by incomplete information, rapidly changing circumstances, and the sense of being unprepared. In this context, we'll explore insights from one of the American journalists, writers, Farid Zakaria's book, The 10 Lessons for Post-Pandemic World. Zakaria offers a framework for understanding the lessons we can learn from facing such unpredictable crisis, emphasizing adaptability and resilience in the face of uncertainty. By the end of today's discussion, we should have a clearer sense of how fear of unknown has changed both individual behavior and societal structures, as well as how we might navigate this fear with insight and preparedness in the future. Let's start with the origins of fear, and I will share my PowerPoint with you, and we will continue. Before I move on with our agenda, I wanted to talk a little bit about Hobbes's Leviathan. In Leviathan, Hobbes, there is an idea that the fear of the unknown is central to his conception of human nature and political order. Hobbes believes that individuals are deeply driven by fear, especially of death and the potential violence that the others may commit, because the natural state of humanity, which he termed the state of nature, is inherently violent and chaotic. This fear creates a sense of uncertainty and instability that compels people to seek security and protection, often at the expense of their own personal freedoms. So, one of the things Hobbes explores is the fear and submission to authority. In Hobbes's view, fear of the dangers inherent in the state of nature leads people to seek a strong central authority, a leviathan, that can impose order and provide protection. This perceived security encourages people to willingly submit their rights to the authority, preferring the certainty of rule over chaos of the unknown. They believe that the Leviathan, embodied in a powerful ruler or government, can prevent the violence and unpredictability they fear, which makes them more obedient and compliant. The Leviathan gains its power by exploiting the public sphere of anarchy and violence, by presenting itself as the only solution to the dangers of the unknown. The central authority positions itself as the necessary and ultimate protector, like what Trump is doing these days. People fearing what they cannot control or predict accept this authority's control over their lives as they believe it brings safety. This dynamic reinforces the Leviathan's power. It does not need to prove its it is justice or its only ability to protect and enforce order. Hobbes suggests that by fostering the fear of a return to a chaotic state of nature, the Leviathan can influence people's actions and beliefs. This fear based influence leads people to rationalize the authorities' decisions, and even if they might otherwise view them as restrictive or oppressive. The power of the Leviathan is thus both psychological and practical, as people not only obey out of fear, but also internalize the authorities' values and goals as means of avoiding the unknown threats they fear. Hobbes's Leviathan demonstrates that fear of the unknown is a powerful motivator that leads individuals to submit to authority and accept control. This obedience is not merely out of coercion, but is grounded in the desire for protection from the unpredictable dangers, and individuals feel they cannot navigate alone. Thus, the Leviathan, as Hobbes envisioned it, becomes both a symbolic protection and the instrument of control, leveraging fear to maintain its influence over society. So, in today's class, we're going to we will be defining what the fear of the unknown is and try to understand it today, the origins, as we talked in Leviathan. We also recognize how this fear affects individual behavior and decision making processes through some sociological perspectives. We will explore the strategies for managing and overcoming this fear in personal and professional contexts. And then we will be talking about the 10 lessons for a post-pandemic world by Zachariah. So, what is the fear of the unknown? The fear of the unknown refers to the anxiety, apprehension, or unease that people feel when they face uncertain, unpredictable, and unfamiliar situations. It's an emotional response to anything that lies outside of one's knowledge or experience, where potential outcomes are not clear or cannot be controlled. Psychologically, this fear stems from a survival instinct. Humans tend to be cautious or avoidant in unfamiliar situations to protect themselves from potential danger. The unknown includes everything from social situations, unfamiliar environments, potential risks, to existential questions about life, death, and the universe. So the fear of the unknown is largely driven by the instability to predict or influence outcomes. We like to, see through things. We like a predictable life. We want to have some security in our lives. When people are uncertain about what to expect, they may experience discomfort and fear because they lack control over what might happen. Without concrete knowledge, individuals often imagine worst case scenarios. This tendency to project negative outcomes onto the unknown intensifies fear as the mind fills in the blanks with threats that may not exist but seem plausible. Fear of the unknown often leads to avoidance behavior where individuals steer clear of unfamiliar people, places, or situations to maintain a sense of safety. This behavior can limit experiences and reinforce feelings of anxiety when facing new things. The fear of the unknown can also make people more willing to accept authority and adhere to societal norms, as this provide a sense of stability and predictability. The fear of the unknown shapes much of human behavior as individuals may seek comfort in routines, adopt beliefs that give structure and meaning, or follow authorities that promise security. In a broader societal context, it can lead to conformity and compliance as people look to collective norms and powerful institutions to manage the uncertainty they feel. So there is a evolutionary perspective I would like to introduce first. What is evolutionary perspective? From an evolutionary perspective, the fear of the unknown is considered an adaptive mechanism that has contributed to human survival. This fear is thought to have developed as a survival response in our ancestors, helping them avoid unfamiliar or unpredictable situations that might pose dangers, like dangers from anything in their world. Because the unknown can potentially contain threats like predators, environmental hazards, or hostile humans, developing caution and fear in response to those stuff would increase an individual's likelihood of survival and consequently the ability to reproduce and pass on these adaptive traits. So, fear of the unknown as a survival mechanism. In prehistoric environments, erring on the side of caution when faced with unknown situations or unfamiliar places increased chances of survival. Those who were more cautious around the unknown were less likely to be exposed to potential fatal threats like predators or environmental dangers, and were more likely to survive long enough to reproduce. Fear of the unknown would have prompted early humans to be vigilant and alert, helping them detect subtle changes in their environment and might signal danger. This hypervigilance could have meant the difference between life and death at the time, as individuals who were more sensitive to unknown threats were likely to be better at avoiding harm. Evolution favors conservative approaches in uncertain situations, especially when the risks could be life threatening. As a result, people developed an innate bias towards safety and avoidance when faced with unfamiliar situations, which often manifests as anxiety of fear or fear in modern humans. This cautious approach may seem excessive in today's world, but would have been essential in the unpredictable and often dangerous environments of our ancestors. There are some social implications. The evolutionary response to fear of the unknown also plays a role in social cohesion. Humans, being social creatures, tended to stay within known groups of environments, relying on social bonds and shared knowledge for protection. This fear can foster greater conformity and reliance on established social norms or leaders who seem to offer stability, as this provide a buffer against unpredictability. Um, it is persistent in our society, though many dangers our ancestors faced no longer exist. The evolutionary impulse remains in us. Modern humans may not face the same physical threats, but they still experience fear of the unknown in new situations, ideas, or people, which can shape decision making processes in social behavior. This persistence of fear helps explain why humans still respond cautiously to change of unfamiliar situations, even if the potential for danger is low or it is different. So, from an evolutionary perspective, the fear of the unknown has been a deeply ingrained in an essential for survival mechanism. Although it may lead to overly cautious or avoidant behavior in some contexts today, it historically increased our ancestors' resilience in unpredictable environments. As many of you know, there is an overlap between psychology and sociology. We call it social psychology. According to the social psychology, the fear of the unknown involves several factors that lead individuals to perceive uncertainty as a threat. These factors combine to make unfamiliar situations appear risky or potentially dangerous, even when no real danger is present. Here, some of them we will discuss with you today. Humans have fundamental desire for predictability, as we mentioned earlier, and control in their lives. When situations are unknown or uncertain, this desire is disrupted, leading to discomfort and anxiety. Without clear expectations, individuals feel they cannot prepare for or influence outcomes, which heightens their sense of vulnerability. Ambiguity and intolerance is a personality trait where individuals experience significant discomfort in uncertain and unclear situations. People with high ambiguity intolerance are more likely to feel threatened by the unknown and may respond with fear, avoidance, or attempt to impose order on the situation. There are some cognitive biases. Negative bias is that the tendency to focus more on potential threats or negative outcomes in uncertain situations, imagining worst case scenarios, or availability heuristic that says that when people remember past negative experiences or stories related to unknown situations, they may overestimate the risk or harm or risk of harm, which can make the unknown appear even more dangerous. And confirmation bias, if someone has experienced or heard about negative outcomes from unknown situations, they may selectively notice information that confirms their belief that the unknown is threatening. And in evolutionary conditioning standpoint, humans are predisposed to the cautious around unfamiliar stimuli, as this response has historically increased survival chances, as we mentioned in the beginning. This evolutionary conditioning leads people to react to new and unknown situations with wariness or even fear as a way of erring on the side of caution. Also, there is unknown situations often carry the risk of loss, whether it's loss of safety, reputation, relationships, or resources. Anxiety, which involves worrying about future uncertainties, often heightens the perception of threat. Anticipating potential losses in an unknown situation can drive fear and make individuals more risk averse. There are some cultural and social influence. We will talk about the social and cultural implications in a bit, but the mention of it in the psychology part, social and cultural factors also shape how people perceive the unknown. Um, Also, unfamiliar situations, people often fear failing, being judged, or being embarrassed. The social aspect of fear is particularly relevant in situations where they feel they lack knowledge or skills. Because of this, the unknown becomes associated not only with potential harm, but also with potential social or psychological consequences. Past negative experiences can strongly influence an individual's fear of the unknown. If someone has previously encountered harm or negative outcomes in unfamiliar situations, they are more likely to view the unknown as a threat and respond with caution or anxiety. Together, these factors create a psychological framework that makes the unknown seem inherently risky, fostering a natural response of avoidance or fear. While these reactions are often protective, they can also prevent individuals from engaging with new experiences or adapting to change, shaping behavior in profound ways. So, the sociological influences, the fear of the unknown is not only personal or psychological, of course, response, but is also deeply shaped by sociocultural influence. Societies and cultures develop shared way of understanding, categorizing, and responding to the unknown, which can either intensify or elevate this fear. Here's how various sociocultural factors shape the fear of the unknown. Number one is cultural norms and values. Each culture has values and norms that guide responses to uncertainty. Societies that prioritize tradition, stability, and conformity often foster higher levels of fear towards the unknown. For instance, cultures that value order and predictability might be more likely to view the unfamiliar or dangerous or disruptive. On the other hand, cultures that value exploration, novelty, and individualism may encourage more openness to new experiences, to new spaces, thereby reducing the collective fear of the unknown. Socialization also plays a significant role in shaping attitudes towards the unknown. From a young age, people are taught how to approach or avoid new and uncertain situations. Families, schools, and media influence whether children learn or view the unknown with a curiosity or suspicion. If authority figures like parents or teachers emphasize safety and caution, individuals are more likely to grow up associating unfamiliar situations with risk. Also, media in our world, especially, shapes public perception of unknown by framing certain topics as threatening or dangerous. We talked about them in last classes. New outlets, for example, often emphasize risk and sensationalize unfamiliar threats such as new diseases, economic changes, or emerging technologies, or in today's election days, we're talking about dangers coming from immigrants. This framing can create a cultural narrative that the unknown is to be feared. The portrayal of new situations or groups as risky also reinforces stereotypes and social divides, which fosters xenophobia or fear of unfamiliar cultures or practices. Religion is inherently and inherently fear from the unknown. Um, Religious and spiritual beliefs often provide frameworks for interpreting the unknown. For example, some religious traditions encourage faith and trust in the face of uncertainty, while others emphasize caution and the need to avoid potential dangers associated with the unknown. In many cultures, religious teaching is often offer explanations for existential unknowns like death, which can reduce fear. And however, strict interpretations of religious teachings may also stigmatize unfamiliar beliefs or practices, reinforcing fear of the unknown. Fear, fear of the unknown can be intensified in societies where group identify is strong. Unfamiliar individuals or ideas are often perceived as threats to social cohesion, leading to heightened suspicion or even hostility towards outsiders. In groups and outgroups are often defined based on familiarity. As a result, those who do not fit established cultural or social norms may be marginalized, with the unknown, others seen as a potential disruptor of group identity or harmony. There is also, there can be historical memory and historical trauma. Historical events such as wars, colonialism, or economic downturns shape cultural memory, influencing how the society views the unknown. Societies that have experienced trauma may have a stronger collective fear of change and deep rooted aversion to the unfamiliar. For example, communities that have been colonized may develop a protective attitude towards outside influences stemming from past experience of exploitation or cultural erasure. Educational systems and access to knowledge can offer some insights into fear from the unknown. Education systems transmit cultural attitudes towards knowledge and risk taking. When educational systems emphasize rote learning and conformity, they may discourage curiosity, which can heighten fear of the unknown. However, education that fosters critical thinking and open mindedness can encourage students to engage with unfamiliar ideas constructively. Access to accurate information and diverse viewpoints can reduce fear by making unfamiliar concepts more understandable and less mysterious. In our time, the globalization and intercultural contact became a big deal. Globalization has increased exposure to diverse cultures, ideas, and practices, which can reduce fear of the unknown by normalizing differences. However, it can also create anxieties about losing cultural identity or autonomy, which can fuel fears about foreign influence or rapid social changes. Intercultural exchange through travel, media, and digital communications has made it possible for people to encounter and become more comfortable with new concepts and lifestyle, which can diminish the perceived threat of the unknown. Politics and economic factors is a big, of course, it's immensely important for understanding the fear from the unknown, especially political discourse often uses fear of the unknown to influence public opinion, especially around issues like immigration, technological advancement, economic policy. Politicians may frame certain groups or ideas as threats to national security or economic stability, leveraging fear to gain support for certain policies. Economic instability, on the other hand, can amplify fear of the unknown, as people may feel that unpredictable changes, such as job market shifts or inflation, threaten their well being. During economic crisis, societies may become more resistant to change and more fearful of unfamiliar solutions. Fear of cultural change and identity loss is another part of the fear of the unknown. When societies fear that cultural values or traditions may be lost, they can develop an aversion to the unknown. This fear is especially relevant in rapidly changing societies where people may see unfamiliar ideas, technologies, or social movements as threats to traditional ways of life. Fear of cultural loss can result in resistance to progressive changes, as well as social divisions, with groups reinforcing their identities in opposition to familiar. So these influences on the fear of the unknown are complex, shaping not only individual responses but also broader social behavior and attitudes. These influences work together to create an environment in which the unknown is either normalized and accepted or regarded with suspicion and apprehension. Understanding these influences is essential for addressing and reducing unnecessary fears of the unfamiliar in a rapidly changing world. Managing the fear of unknown involves strategies that help individuals and groups reduce anxiety, cultivate resilience, and view uncertainty as an opportunity rather than a threat. We will take a look at a few important points like education and awareness, building resilience, and promoting open dialogue, and some other points. So, knowledge is one of the best antidotes to fear. Learning more about what seems uncertain or unknown, whether a new culture, technology, or social change, can reduce the sense of unpredictability. Um, Fact-checked information is very important, that CNN does it, especially with new and global issues. Fact-checking can clarify misconceptions and reduce panic, often driven by misinformation. Um, Develop and growth mindset is another very important one. Shifting to a mindset that sees change and uncertainty as opportunity for personal and professional growth can help diminish fear. Viewing unknown situations as changes to gain new skills or insights can reframe fear into excitement. Being open to diverse ideas and perspectives can normalize new information and experiences, making unfamiliar situations seem less intimidating. So, also building emotional resilience is very important. Coping strategies such as mindfulness, mediation, or journaling can help process and control anxiety surrounding uncertainty. Acknowledge that fear and discomfort are natural responses to uncertainty. This acceptance can make it easier to take action rather than avoid unfamiliar situations. Taking Talking to Trusted friends, family, or colleagues can provide reassurance and help individuals feel more grounded. Sharing experiences can also normalize fears of the unknown, reducing isolation. Engaging in communities, either in person or online, that share similar experiences can provide insight and support, making the unknown less overwhelming. Um, if facing a large unknown change, people can try breaking it down into small, manageable steps. Taking one action at a time can reduce overwhelm and create a sense of control. I sometimes talk about um, doing getting a doctoral degree or getting PhD as being one of the one of those areas that you feel threatened by how huge this process is. If you just take a look one step at a time, like first year you're taking your courses, second year you're doing your proposal, third year doing that, and fourth year you're doing your research, and then bringing all this information, studying, and then starting to write your dissertation. That small steps can kind of become manageable. Creating achievable goals around uncertain situations like this provides focus in reduced and overall impact of fear. Um, Practicing mindfulness and stress reduction techniques can be another thing. Like, I mean, we are not counseling anybody here, but practicing mindfulness helps anchor oneself in the present moment, reducing anxiety about an uncertain future. Techniques like deep breathing, body scanning can bring calm and lessen fearful reactions. Physical exercise, creative hobbies, or simply spending time in nature can also help release tension and shift our focus away from fear we are experiencing. Um, Also, adopting a curious attitude can transform fear into exploration. By asking questions and exploring unknown situations willingly, we can diminish apprehension and find opportunities to learn. Sometimes that limiting exposure to fear-induced media can help. That kind of media sensationalizes danger or uncertainty, that can help keep fear in check. Seek balanced and fact-based information and take breaks from media if when needed also is a very good way of managing fear of the unknown. Managing fear of the unknown is about building awareness, emotional resilience, in proactive mindset by focusing on what we can control, practicing curiosity, and fostering supportive connections. We can transform our approach to the unknown, reducing fear and building confidence in the face of uncertainty. When I started this video, I was thinking of talking about fear of the unknown first and continuing to Zachariah's book. I think I will just cut it here and I will make two separate videos. And next video is going to be on Zachariah's book on COVID. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in next video.